He jumped to the river just to catch the ball because that is the only football that he can have. If he lost it, then he don't have a football to play. It's not something that he can buy easily, just like us. We can just go and replace and buy another ball. But
Hazel and Steve, maybe you can share a bit what just happened right now in Daddy's cinema.
For you?
okay, today we're having a private screening for the first Malaysian documentary on refugees kid playing in National Stadium of Bukit Jalil. Playing, they've set their foot in our iconic National Stadium of Bukit Jalil, which never happened before. And we follow this group of young refugees for the past 1 year. And then they are being led by a local Malaysian coach on a journey for a football tournament called the Faisal Cup. And the final was held in National Stadium Bukit Jalil. And so we were there to document their journey for the past 1 year. Yeah.
Why this story?
I think, Signal Flare, our production house's heart, is to really shine a light on stories that aren't often talked about, or stories that might have certain stereotypes or biases towards them, in this case, refugees. And when we heard that Malaysia, at that moment, the Malaysian government was saying, hey, you refugee children, why don't you play your finals, the tournament, in Bukit Jalil Stadium? We thought it was such a beautiful moment to capture. I think it's historic. We know Malaysians are so generous. And at that moment, to say to the rest of the world, yes, we're in the middle of a discussion about us and them, and all over the world, it's like, we don't want them anywhere near us. Malaysia said, you know what, for this moment, come play in our valued stadium. We thought it was just such a powerful story to capture.
Yeah, we wanted to actually celebrate Malaysian hospitality and generosity. We know this is something that is so close to our tradition, right? Whenever people come to our house, we want to always, be nice and be generous towards them. So I think this is just a simple example of how Malaysians are so generous, even though we don't have the obligation legally to help any refugees, but still we extend our hands. And we want to do this documentary because we were so inspired by so many silent heroes behind the scene, behind this documentary, be it an individual, be it a charity or non-governmental organization, NGO, as well as some representative from the government as well, and all the silent heroes behind the scene working to make this happen.
And in this moment, I think around the world, there is a great deal of fear about them, and a sense of stereotypes that, that refugees or displaced people are there to be a drain on society. And I think that in this moment, it was beautiful to capture and see that if child refugees were given a chance, an opportunity, what kind of agency would we see? What would we see them do? And we saw these boys incredibly fight their way for that chance, battling against local schools or athlete schools in beautiful competition to get to the finals. And it's a beautiful symbol of, the fact that if every child is given a chance, what can they accomplish?
And when I first heard about Faisal Cup back in 2023, I cannot believe that things like this happen at our own backyard. There are a refugee kid who lost their life just because he loved football so much. He jumped to the river just to catch the ball because that is the only football that he can have. If he lost it, then he don't have a football to play. It's not something that he can buy easily, just like us. We can just go and replace and buy another ball. But his parents cannot afford to buy a new football for him. So he jumped to the river and just want to save the ball because he really loved to play football. But then he ended up losing his life. So I think that story really broke my heart. And then I decided, okay, let's do a documentary about this. And 16 years later, during the final in Bukit Jalil, we thought that that is such a historical moment where we witness ourselves the generosity of Malaysians who want to support them in whatever way we can. And that actually inspired me to do the story.
And lastly, what your hopes for people to take from this story? Maybe either it's about the refugees, about football in Malaysia, or about the unfortunate kids who died.
Yeah, I hope that anyone who watch this, be it parents themselves, whether they are football fan or not, if any one of them out of 1,000 of them, if one people can just feel more compassionate about refugees, if they can look at another refugee or stateless person as one of us and extend our hand and soften our heart, I think that is enough of an impact of what we are trying to achieve in this documentary.
And I think our hope is, that we can spark a debate. I think our hope is that we can spark a debate as to whether the right for every child to have a chance to play, is something that should be universal. And it should be for every child, regardless of their social, economic backgrounds. And if that is the case, how do we make that possible for everyone, whether that be B40 children, whether that be refugee children, whether that be any children? That's our ultimate hope. And then in terms of cinema, in terms of film, one of our hopes and desires here is that, we have a private screening here where we can invite so many people to come in hopes of spurring more creative. Let me start that again. I think our hope really is that in the documentary world, that we can increase the talent here in Malaysia, that this documentary will inspire other filmmakers in Malaysia to do more of these sort of documentaries. Documentaries that can possibly bring positive social change.
Lastly, do you want to promote the documentary to the people out there?
The documentary is not open for public yet. It is. That's why we are doing private screening to just share it with the community around us and also to the selected members of the media. But our hope is that we can bring this documentary to international film festival worldwide, and then after that, hoping that we can reach out to as many audience as we can.